Hello and welcome to the GamesRadar video review of Watchdogs 2. I'm GamesRadar's Dave Horton, and I'm here today with official PlayStation Magazine's Ben Tyra.
Hello.
Now, first, before we start, you will notice that this review is a bit late compared to when the game came out. The reason for that is, of course, that the multiplayer was kind of broken when it came out. Obviously, Ubisoft switched that off to fix it, and now seem to have and switched it back on again. So we figured it was time to get on with this properly. So, Ben, the first thing everyone noticed about Watch Dogs 2, I think, seems to still permeate is the fact that the tone seems very different from the first one.
Yes.
The first one was quite straightforward, quite grey, quite gritty in typical, games. This seems a lot zestier, a lot zippier.
Yeah, so obviously you can't really mistake it, and one of the things that Watch Dogs 2 does really well is create an own identity for itself. I know a lot of people complain the first one didn't have an identity. As you rightly pointed out, it was gritty video game man does gritty video game things.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is, even though every character looks detestable, it's
They do look awful, to be fair.
it is. They do. There's a surprisingly good job of fleshing out individual characters in the DedSec crew, and that it's a world you'll enjoy being in. And I think the big part of that is, as you said earlier, is it feels alive. Not only do NPCs mill about and interact with each other, but colours pop. It's a fun world to be in.
So it goes beyond kind of just the writing and the slightly kind of hipster vibe of it. The actual fabric of the world feels good.
If you compare it to some of the great open world games like Assassin's Creed 2, GTA 5, each one of them has a feel and identity that is very much their own.
Yeah.
And it's to Watch Dogs 2's credit that it gets close to doing that for itself as well.
Great. In terms of identity, though, I mean, this is an open world game from Ubisoft. Does it follow that Ubisoft template where every game's Assassin's Creed?
Sort of, but not really.
Right, good.
So the big thing is there's no more towers.
Brilliant.
Way! So there's no climbing up, unlocking parts of the map. As soon as you turn on that game, you know where everything is. There's still stuff to find, and one of the problems as you get in later on is that there's still an overabundance of stuff to see, to collect. The way they combat it this time is there's an overarching narrative that DedSec need computer power to launch the hack of the century.
Right.
So you need to collect followers, and the way you do that is by just doing tasks, finding things, and all that feeds in to your follower count. Now, I only followed the story, and because I was doing side missions as I was going throughout the game, I don't know if you get to a point in the story where it says, you don't have enough followers, do more stuff.
Yeah.
But it kind of, for me, it didn't feel like there was a checklist of I need to do this, I need to do that. It was I'm doing stuff and it's feeding into it. It feels a little more natural than UVB games previously. Much
more like kind of here are the things, you are free to do any of the things.
Exactly.
You don't have to grind the thing to do this bit, sort of thing, which is great.
Because it definitely feels like a step forward away from the kind of Assassin's Creed 2, this is how we make open world games, and retrofitting it onto the crew. Far Cry, it now feels like this is a better way forward for them.
That sounds a lot more pleasant. So, in terms of, obviously, Watch Dogs' big thing was always the hacking powers. How good are they this time around?
Yeah,
I mean, do they feel cool enough to make it feel distinct in itself?
I mean, the hacking powers are easily the best thing about Watch Dogs 2. They're the key to making a game where you feel like if you can imagine it, you can probably make it happen. A good example of this is how you now have 2 remote control cars. So you've got the quadcopter, which can fly, it's a drone, and then the jumper, which is an RC car. Now you can either control them via hacking, but you can then use them to go into areas, scout into mission objectives. They can interact with terminals, so the jumper has a USB port on it which can go in and physically hack stuff. So when it comes to missions, you now feel you have a lot more freedom to use those hacking powers rather than jumping into cameras and going around. One of the other big thing is remote control hacking cars, and this makes, despite the fact that driving in the game isn't hugely satisfying.
It's a shame because they put the Reflection Studio on it this time, which made everyone think it was going to be a lot better than the first one.
I felt it got better as it went on, but I just didn't. I felt it was still a little weightless, and I think the reason for that is also the reason why the hacking's so fun with driving is that you can now hack any car on the road to swerve off in a direction to bring it to a standstill in reverse, or to make it go faster in the direction it's travelling. And that makes chases when you're trying to get away from the cops and you can have a car behind you swerve in
that's cool.
to the cops. There's stuff like that which
almost like they recycled Driver San Francisco, and that's where it is now. No, but no, in a good way, because that system in Driver is amazing.
There is actually an app in the game called Driver San Francisco, which works like Uber, where
amazing.
you can bring in
That's
jobs from people.
Yeah, because that game was so underplayed, and yeah, I mean, if any of its essence has made it forward into a new game, that's a great thing, you know.
So there's definitely I think for a lot of people they will be able to spot that in the game.
Yeah.
It's just, as I said, it's a shame if you when you're driving to places, it's still to me just about a little too weightless, but I can appreciate why it did, because it facilitates you being able to use your hacking powers on some of the more extravagant chases.
Yeah, it's to kind of nudge you to try something different, effectively. Yeah. So overall, then, what's the a lot of open world games are great for scope of world and general vibe. A lot of them fall apart on mission design. We've seen that a couple of times over recent years. What's the general, the process of actually playing Watch Dogs 2? What are you going to be asked to do, and is it good?
It's interesting. I think there's a lot of cleverly designed missions that give you the opportunity to experiment, to be creative. The problem is that most approaches work, which means that you're not encouraged to think outside of the box. So to give an example of this, as soon as I unlocked the quadcopter, every mission I would use that quadcopter to fly into areas, and because it's small and you can get it through vents, it meant I ended up falling back onto it as a crutch. In a similar sense, if you wanted to, most people could just play it as a straight shooter and try and brute force their way through objectives. It's well designed in that it does facilitate these approaches, but it's a shame that you didn't have a little bit more variety, where one mission you have the quadcopter you can't use because somebody's blocking the signal. But having said that, it does there are a few wonderful moments and set pieces which kind of really have to be experienced. There's one towards the end of the game where you come across a research facility, and it just is like the kind of perfect... It's the sort of variety that some of the main missions are lacking. But having said that, having the freedom to kind of, if you want to just play as a stealth hacker who uses drones and toys to do all his dirty work for him, that is there to do. Yeah,
I suppose, if you can kind of remake any mission as you want,
there's
the variety's sort of there if you if you make it,
I don't think there's any four-leaf clover when in a few years' time people will point to a specific mission and say that was the best moment in the game. But I think it's because you will have there's enough of a consistent sort of quality to missions where you can go, this is really fun, that was really fun. You'll remember how you did rather than what you did.
Right. One last point then, the obvious one, the much vaunted multiplayer. You have played it, right?
I managed to play it during the review period, so I haven't been on since the servers have gone live again. While I was playing during the review period, and it wasn't suffering from issues, it really does change the game. So you could be... The best example is that if you have the cops on you, kill a few of them like you'll want to do, and you end up going to a sort of 3-star rating or 3 shield rating, somebody might come into your game to hunt you down, and the bounty hunter really keeps you on your toes, and it presents actual consequences, because at the end of the day, when you're doing it against the AI, you either die or you either die or outwit them. Whereas somebody else, it's that kind of unpredictability that it really kind of grips you, because then it means that no chase is the same.
It's got that kind of Dark Souls tension as soon as you get the invasion going on.
Exactly.
You don't know who this guy is, how he's thinking, how he's going to do this.
And weirdly enough, as you say, hacking invasion is back in the game. I really enjoyed the multiplayer from what I played of it. It's just a shame that it's had so many early issues, and if the servers can't cope with it, it does deny one of Watch Dogs 2's strongest elements.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ben. Watch Dogs 2 is out now on Xbox One, PS4 and PC. The official GamesRadar score is 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching, and as ever, let us know what you think in the comments. Obviously, keep it tuned to GamesRadar for more reviews like this, and don't forget to subscribe.
That's him. Marcus Holloway. Time him.
Too late, he's in.